Welcome to this video on the global migration dilemma and why the American dream often dies at the border. We will explore how cultural expectations collide with academic and legal realities, especially for young migrants who first land in Europe. We will then discuss strategic alternatives that maximize opportunities, along with a practical decision framework and a quiz to test your understanding. Let's begin. In this agenda, we will first set the stage by contrasting ambition with systems. Next, we will review Europe as the first landing point and the academic realities there. After that, we will analyze the American dream and whether it is an open door or a locked gate. We will then cover several controversial truths about U.S. immigration. Following that, we will discuss a practical strategy focused on pivoting within Europe. We will visualize decision frameworks, and finally, we will include quizzes to check your understanding. We begin by acknowledging the powerful appeal of the American dream. It is often portrayed as a meritocratic environment where hard work beats systemic barriers. However, as we transition from idealism to logistics, we must focus on the systems that actually govern outcomes. This includes academic standards and immigration frameworks, which can be decisive factors. The American dream is reinforced by media narratives and diaspora success stories. These stories suggest that effort outweighs obstacles. However, the rules of academic admissions and immigration policies determine outcomes in a way that personal effort cannot fully overcome. Consequently, expectations often run ahead of legal and academic realities. With that in mind, let's transition to Europe, where many young migrants first arrive and attempt to build academic credibility. After displacement, many migrants land in stable Western European countries. Ambitious individuals often enroll in rigorous programs, such as law at selective institutions, and however, they encounter a harsh grading culture that is common in Europe. This environment can make it difficult to achieve grades that U.S. admissions committees interpret as competitive. Now, let's visualize how these grading systems can become an unexpected barrier. This diagram shows a typical academic pathway in Europe. Students enroll in selective programs, facing the combined pressure of language acquisition and academic rigor. Non-native speakers devote additional time to language mastery while competing with students who are already familiar with the system. Consequently, grades such as 12 to 14 out of 20, which can be respectable in some European contexts, may appear average to U.S. evaluators. This misinterpretation reduces admission chances and often pushes students to reconsider the United States as a fallback or renewed target. Next, we will compare EU grading perceptions with U.S. admission standards to make the mismatch clearer. On the European side, a 14 out of 20 can represent solid achievement within a rigorous program, where grading is strict and failure rates are higher. Evaluations often consider cohort rank and context. On the U.S. side, admissions may convert a 14 out of 20 to something like a B- or C+, which appears average. Conversion tools may miss local rigor, and competitive master's programs expect standout profiles. This mismatch contributes to stalled academic migration plans. Now, let's pivot to immigration itself and evaluate whether the door to the U.S. is actually open. This table summarizes major U.S. entry pathways. Humanitarian programs are temporary and can close without notice. Tourist visas are intended for short visits and are scrutinized for immigrant intent. Student visas require admission and funding and are not intended as immigration shortcuts. Work visas generally require specialized skills and sponsorship, often through a lottery. Family-based routes are more reliable if you qualify. Marriage to a U.S. citizen is a common path, provided the relationship is genuine. With that context, let's now detail the controversial truths about U.S. immigration today. Despite the belief that the United States is more meritocratic, immigration pathways are constrained. Consular officers may interpret the abandonment of a demanding European degree program as evidence of immigrant intent, leading to visa denial. Options for unskilled entry are extremely limited. Humanitarian programs are temporary and may close quickly. The reality is that without specialized skills, significant capital, or qualifying family relationships, legal entry is uncommon. Next, let's summarize the controversial truths point by point and visualize their relative accessibility. These four truths emphasize that humanitarian windows are temporary, visitor and student visas are scrutinized for immigrant intent, There are very few pathways for unskilled labor, and marriage to a U.S. citizen is often the most straightforward route when eligible. The pie chart illustrates a rough relative accessibility picture, with family and skills-based routes occupying most of the available space, student-to-work transitions a smaller portion, and humanitarian or miscellaneous pathways taking up the remainder. Now let's move from diagnosis to strategy and outline how to build leverage within Europe. The strategy is to remain anchored in Europe and leverage stability, services, and residency rights. If success in law is blocked by grading and admissions hurdles, pivot to high-demand fields such as STEM, engineering, specialized healthcare, or data. Choose programs and certifications that lead to employer sponsorship. Improve English proficiency and build a demonstrable portfolio. Use internships and EU mobility to gain experience. Revisit the United States only when you possess leverage in the form of specialized skills, capital, or qualifying family ties. Next, we will present a decision flowchart to help you assess your pathway. This flowchart starts with a migrant already in Europe holding temporary or permanent residency. The first question is whether academic performance is strong in the current field. If it is, the recommendation is to pursue excellence and consider European master's programs or targeted U.S. programs where admissions understand grade conversions. If performance is not strong, the flow suggests pivoting to a high-demand field and then gaining certifications, experience, and English proficiency. The next decision point is whether the individual has U.S. family ties or an employer willing to sponsor. If yes, they should prepare documentation and consult a licensed attorney. If not, they should continue building their career in Europe and reassess the situation annually. There is also a side branch that recognizes humanitarian windows. If one opens, the individual should quickly check eligibility because these windows can close without warning. Now, let's reinforce these ideas with a timeline of a realistic multi-year plan. This timeline outlines a 3 to 5 year plan. In year 0, stabilize in Europe, take language courses, and assess your transcripts. In year 1, either switch to a high-demand field or double down in your current field to improve rank. In year 2, pursue internships, part-time roles, and certifications such as cloud, data, CAD, or nursing specializations. In year 3, aim for a full-time role, compile a portfolio, and demonstrate English proficiency through testing. In year 4, take on senior tasks or build niche expertise, and consider the EU Blue Card or intra-company transfer options. In year 5, you may begin outreach to the U.S., now with leverage for sponsorship or investment, or continue progressing in Europe. Next, let's include a short markdown checklist you can screenshot and use. This markdown checklist provides weekly, monthly, and quarterly actions. Weekly tasks include language practice, portfolio updates, networking, and certification study. Monthly milestones include targeted applications across the EU, informational interviews, and a skill gap assessment. Quarterly goals include completing a credential, presenting a project, and reassessing any U.S. plans based on the leverage you have gained. Now let's test your understanding with a quick quiz. Question: which path offers the most reliable quick entry to the U.S. for someone without specialized skills or capital and with no qualifying family ties? Options are: 1. Tourist visa followed by job hunting. 2. Humanitarian parole long after the window opened. 3. Marriage to a U.S. citizen in a genuine relationship. And 4. An unskilled labor visa with employer sponsorship. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is marriage to a U.S. citizen in a genuine relationship. Family-based immigration is typically more straightforward than economic migration for individuals without specialized skills or capital. Be aware that any marriage-based application must be bona fide and will be scrutinized for authenticity. Next, we will present a second question about strategy. Question: if law school grades in Europe limit U.S. admissions, which strategy most improves your long-term odds of cross-border mobility? Options are: 1. Drop out and apply for a tourist visa to job hunt in the U.S. 2. Pivot to high-demand fields in Europe, build experience and certifications, then reassess. 3. Wait indefinitely for humanitarian windows to reopen. And 4. Apply to multiple U.S. programs without addressing GPA translation. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is to pivot to high-demand fields in Europe, build experience and certifications, and then reassess. This approach builds leverage, which increases the probability of mobility, whether within Europe or toward the United States. Now, to solidify these lessons, let's highlight the key points. These are the key takeaways. First, while the United States promotes meritocracy, systems such as immigration and admissions are decisive. Second, European grading can appear harsh to U.S. evaluators, which limits transfer opportunities. Third, humanitarian and visitor routes are narrow or temporary. Fourth, leverage in the form of skills, capital, or family ties opens doors. Fifth, the smart move is to build high-demand skills within Europe and then reassess U.S. options. To close the conceptual loop, we will present a final decision, visualization, and a disclaimer. This pie chart suggests an energy allocation strategy. The largest slice is European skill build. The next two are U.S. outreach, once leverage exists, and continuous language and portfolio development. Smaller portions go to visa research with periodic legal consultations and monitoring humanitarian windows. This emphasizes proactive development over speculative visa attempts. Next, we will present a brief disclaimer. Disclaimer. This content is for educational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. Immigration laws and policies change frequently. Always consult a licensed attorney or qualified advisor in your jurisdiction before making decisions. To summarize, ambition must be paired with a strategy that respects the systems in place. For many migrants, Europe offers clearer pathways to stability and skill development. Access to the United States improves significantly when you can demonstrate leverage through specialized skills, capital, or family relationships. Use structured timelines, checklists, and decision maps to remain focused and efficient. Thank you for watching. If this video helped you, please like, share, and subscribe for more deep dive guides. We would love to hear your experiences and questions, so share your thoughts in the comments.